that's not been diagnosed with NPD, but they're toxic. They're mean, they're angry, they're greedy, they're self-centered, they're controlling, they're dominant. That was me. They're going to always want to be the better parent, but they're not going to always want to be the better parent and spending more time with your child. Most times they want to spend time with the child to make you look like the parent that's not doing good. Most times they want to spend half the time with the child so that they don't have to pay child support. A lot of times they're spending time with the child so that they can be the better parent and buy gifts. It wasn't about me talking to my sons and making them better men, or talking to my daughter, making her a better young lady. I just wanted the time so they can like me more than they like their mother. I was jealous of both my kids' mother, because they were better parents than I was, and I didn't like that. I would never have told them that prior to therapy. Matter of fact, I never told them that. I could tell them that now because I understand that it's okay to not be as good as another person in whatever, sports, entertainment, or parenting. I understand that now. It's okay. It's still hard to say you're better than me. It's tough, but I don't have that feeling of being vulnerable or insecure when I mention that. So before, I wouldn't say that because I would feel vulnerable and insecure. So co-parenting with a toxic person, you have to remember, say for instance, you have two kids, and it's tough to say this, but it's true. Your ex is your third child. So in any way you think you should deal with that person or deal with your kids, you have to deal with that grown child the same way. They're gonna always be jealous. They're gonna always try to derail your situation or your relationship with your kids. They're gonna always try to hurt or harm or take away the time that you have when you start seeing somebody else. You're gonna want them to babysit, which they shouldn't have to babysit their own kids. It's just like, okay, I'll keep my son or my daughter because you're going on a trip. They don't want you to go on a trip with anybody else. They don't want you spending time with another man or woman, even though they didn't want to spend time with you. So co-parenting with a toxic ex is hard because they claim to not want to be with you, but they still do. They're just not good enough to be the man that you or woman that you need for them to be. That was me with my ex-wife. I just couldn't step up and be the grown, mature man, but I wanted to be a parent and not I want to be a father, not a parent. It sounds better to me. Parenting is different than being a father. I didn't want to put in the work to be a parent.
So are there any specific strategies or methodologies that your ex used with co-parenting along with you, with the boys, with your kids?
So what happened was, well, okay, I started wanting to be, and this is, so when you have kids that understand and they can see the toxic in the parents, or they can see the turmoil or feel the thickness, tension in the house, I had to understand that because my son said, Dad, why do people get divorced? What is that all about? And I had to answer him. He was in the sixth grade. He was sixth grade, yeah. And so I had to start being, instead of being upset with her, I had to realize that I need to be better for my sons. Most people that are toxic in a relationship don't care or think about how much they are hurting the children. My goal was to hurt my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriend, and I didn't think about the damage that it was doing to my kids. That I'm an absent father at the time. Not absent, we were still in the same area. I was going to see them, they would come see me. But there was times where they would come over, and just because I had a house or a bigger house or a better house than her, which I didn't, as long as they had a bed and food, that was good enough for me. I wasn't spending quality time with them. So I had to understand the damage that was being done to my children, because I remember when my parents got divorced, my father left and I searched for him high and low. And I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of discipline. I lost a lot of time when my dad was gone. And it affected me because my mother didn't have the leadership in our home when my dad wasn't there. And so I knew that I had to start uh, being a better person to little boys and being a better person to my daughter, as opposed to wanting to hurt the mother of my children.
Okay. So hello, Miss Diamond. We have a question from Yellow Diamond. Leon, you want to take that?
Yeah, what prompted you to take psychological help serious? Answer that first part. Um, because it made me realize that I was psychologically damaged. I didn't know that I was psychologically damaged. I didn't think that I was psychologically damaged. I didn't want to hear it. But as I went to therapy every week for 1 hour, sometimes 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours on that yellow orange couch, I started really learning more about the psychological aspects of being toxic. Not only was I hurting me, but I was hurting people around me, and I didn't even realize it. I was in go mode. I was selfish. I was self-centered. So I started taking it serious when I started realizing that I can grow and get better from this. I knew that I was sick. I knew that I had a brain injury. I knew that I was slow. I knew that I was emotional detached. I knew these things because I was always feeling it when I was with a woman. I started pulling away, slowly pulling away, not being as engaging, not being as loving, not being as caring. I had to realize, man, I need to take this serious because if not, how worse can it get? And it can get worse. The second part, do you feel empathy now? I understand empathy. I know what it means. I've always understood empathy. That's why I was able to manipulate her feelings based on how she was feeling, based on how I was feeling. If I didn't want to talk, if I didn't want to hug, if I didn't want to hold hands, if I didn't want to cuddle. Empathy means I understand how you feel. I don't feel that way. So I understand empathy now. I can get myself close to it without like feeling icky. Like, why don't you quit crying? What the hell's wrong with you? I would always say that. I couldn't stand to see or hear a woman cry, even if I made her cry. Or if I did make her cry, I'm like, oh, here we go with this, all this. Like, I would go into funerals and see people crying and be like, oh, I wish they would stop crying. Yeah, in funerals. I remember doing that. Um, or do you just exercise it for reforming socially correct purposes? That too. I exercise it to reform, yes, and to correct purposes. I want to make sure I get it right. So I don't look at people when they cry in funerals and think that they're stupid or weak. I don't let a woman cry. I haven't made a woman cry in a long time, but I know now when she cries, I'll listen and I'll be fair and I'll meet her. I'll receive her because before I was like that empathy stuff. I no, but I had to stuff like that. I had to practice. That was a good question. I have to practice. I do. And even
Yeah.
still, instead of getting mad, popping off, yelling, screaming, and pushing away, I can hug a woman when she cries. Yeah, that was a good questions. Those were good questions.
Thank you for your transparency. I you have no idea. I really, really appreciate it because you could have completely clammed up.